Welcome back to the channel. My name's Stephen Howson, and this is a tactical preview of Manchester United's very, very important game with Sheffield United. Now, obviously, it's not gone well for Sheffield United in recent weeks. I think everybody's well aware of how that's going down, and I think because of that reason, it represents quite a tricky task for Manchester United in this instance. It should be a straightforward 3 points, but will it be a straightforward 3 points? And actually, we thought a similar thing, one of the first games post-lockdown when we saw Manchester United absolutely tearing to pieces. I hope it's a similar sort of thing. The last three Premier League matches for United: 1-0 against Burnley, 0-0 against Liverpool, and 2-1 against Fulham. Next three Premier League matches following this, we've got Arsenal, Southampton, and Everton. Sheffield United's last three Premier League games: 0-2 against Crystal Palace, 1-0 against Newcastle, and 1-3 against Tottenham Hotspur. They've got Man City, West Brom, and Chelsea next. This is a brutal period. West Brom especially will fancy themselves in that time, and I expect Chelsea will have their new manager in place by the time that one rolls around as well. So it's going to be a very tough ask for them. And Chris Wilder, it's difficult, isn't it? I hope they stick with him and just realise that the Premier League is an absolute killer's row at the moment. And even though they're rock bottom of it and almost certainties to go down, I hope that they're able to stick with him and let him build. Because realistically, what was your expectations of Sheffield United? To try and establish yourself as a Premier League club? I would have hoped it was. I don't think it should have been anything more than that. He had a fantastic season last year. This year, it's not gone so well. Thin squad, exterior factors putting into that. It's one of those. So I think Wilder's probably going to continue with his 3-5-2 system against United, which converts to a 5-3-2 while they're defending. Ramsdale in goal, who, let's be honest, has not been the replacement that everyone was hoping that they'd get for Henderson, and potentially a real big one. I think Basham, Egan, and Ampadu are likely to make up the back three. Jayden Bogle will be the man to provide the width on the right-hand side, with Edna Stevens keeping his place on the left. In midfield, I think it'll be Lundstram, Ollie Norwood, and John Fleck likely to make up a very resolute sort of midfield three. And up front, Starman, McGoldrick, and it'll either be Ollie Burke or Ryan Brewster who line up alongside him. Key man then is McGoldrick. He's been a level above everybody else in that Sheffield United side this season, and is basically the major contributor towards goals for them. 6 goals, 2 assists, double the number of contributions of any other Sheffield United player. Not only that, but he's also got a serious knack of finding the goal against the bigger teams. Opened the scoring in United's win at Bramall Lane earlier in the campaign, and all right, Sheffield United's threats are few and far between. McGoldrick is the one that, if you keep quiet, the chances of you winning this game are dramatically increased. Before I get into my United 11, a quick note on SportsBroker. So SportsBroker is a new football gaming app that allows you to buy virtual shares in football teams. Use your football knowledge to buy shares and sell them for a higher price. Prices will change depending on how well your teams perform on the pitch. SportsBroker take into account more than just the final score, with possession, corners, cards, goals, shots, everything having an impact. Shares can go up and down, and you also get a £100 first trade trial if you come and check them out as well. Make your first trade, and if your team drops in value after the first match, they'll refund any losses incurred up to a maximum of £100. You can play right now by downloading the SportsBroker app on iOS or Android, or you can use their website. Link for that is in the description. You've got to be over 18. It is UK only, and as always, play responsibly. Right then, so my Manchester United 11 and how I think United can overcome this Sheffield United side. And it is almost a case of play well, create chances, beat them. But it's often not that simple. The team I would go with: David Gea in net, Wan-Bissaka, Telles, Maguire, and I'd bring Bailey in as well, because I'm expecting United to have an extremely high line, and Bay's the one that can go and cover that. I'm going to go with Matic, because I think Matic can go in the single pivot role on his own, but don't be surprised if it's Fred, sheerly for work rate and energy. Pogba and Bruno ahead of him, 8 and 10 respectively. Greenwood on the right, Rashford on the left, who I thought was fantastic against Liverpool in the FA Cup, and Cavani up front. That's the 11 I'm looking at, and here's how United can exploit them. Sheffield United tend to go man for man when it comes to closing down space in between the lines and making it as hard as possible to break them down. A way United can counter this is by ensuring both fullbacks, in my case Telles and Wan-Bissaka, regularly overlap, regularly look to push the wingers inside a little bit to create extra numbers in there, create 2v1s. United need to congest the midfield area, which is why I went with a single pivot, not the two, because I want to see Pogba getting high, and then I'm having to deal with Pogba. I want to see Bruno, he's obviously going to be high, and I'm trying to deal with Bruno, and that's what we need to do. They're going to be in a low block. They're going to be in an absolute tank of a low block, and United need to shift them around, move them from left to right. And if you've got Bruno sort of looking after that left side, Pogba looking after the right side, you've got the firepower of Greenwood and Rashford ahead of you, and this is why Cavani has to play. The guile, the operating in tight spaces and the experience of that. That's what you've got to do. That's where you're going to try and create openings. That's how you're going to try and create goals. The other thing is tactical flexibility. This is something Ollie's actually been very good at. Plenty of managers face Sheffield United and they fail to make the low block crack. They might end up being successful with the final result by changing system mid-game. But if United are struggling to break down the Sheffield United defence, Solskjaer's going to need to be able to throw something different in the mix. And that's not just like throwing in an extra forward. You've got to be able to move people out of position. It's where off-the-ball movement is so important. You've got to have multiple threats. What's your multiple threats? Well, Marcus and Mason, they're going to want the ball on the floor. They're going to want to run at you. They're going to want to score and create a certain type of goal. Tellers and Cavani link-up is an entirely different thing. Paul Pogba's threat from outside the box, ditto with Bruno. Those are different types of threats. That way you've got 3, 4, 5 different types of goal that can be scored, and that's what makes you dangerous. If you've only got one goal, then the opposition only has to think of one method of stopping you, and then that's you. If the system doesn't work, changes are going to have to be made. So luckily we've got people on the bench that can potentially come in and mix things up a little bit. And good passes of the ball can stretch them left to right a little bit. But I think it's going to be very key in breaking these down is going to be having quality on both sides of the pitch and move them around. When it's a team in a good low block, you have to really start to stretch them. You go right from one touch line, you try and draw some defenders over to you. Now, when they play 5 at the back, this is difficult because 5 at the back is pretty much the optimum you can really fit. You can go 6 at the back, that's really parking the bus. But 5 people across the back line, that's the optimum number, really. That's the sort of number that you want to see. And if you get that across the back line, you're going to be pretty solid as long as the 3 in front hold their shape. Trying to break them down, attack one touchline, stay right on the touchline, draw them over to you, looking for underlaps, looking for spaces, looking for where players aren't quite matching their distances. There's a bit of a gap. Those two have switched off. 10 metre, 12 metre gaps opened up between the fullback and the centre half. That's where we're going to penetrate. That's where we're going to get shots off. That's what you have to do. And the way to do that is to go left and right with them. Keep dragging them left and right until someone switches off. And there's my bitch. There's my hole. And that's how we're going to try and get into it. So that's what I think United are going to have to do. We're going to have a lot of patience. And I would test them from range as well, because I'm not having Ramsdale. I think he's pretty ordinary. And I think there's if I was betting on this game, I would say Paul Pogba, something from range, is how we're going to open the scoring. And I think after that, a team can unravel a little bit, and you might end up going getting a few. But I think something like Paul Pogba being allowed, given the license and playing with the confidence to hit one from range, might be how United managed to break this team down. But we shall see. Let me know in the comments if you agree, you disagree, how you see this game going. Also, how you're getting on with SportsBroker. But also, check this out. That is the latest episode of Stephen Howson, Football Manager, over on Stretford Paddock FC. It's the whole behind the scenes of how the club is running and how we're coping and all the different difficulties and problems that we run into with COVID and various different national lockdowns. So go check that out. And if you do go and check it out using the link in the description, then let us know that you've come from the preview. I'm seeing how many people come over from the preview and how many come over from 5 Things. So get in the comments, let me know. Preview or 5 Things, what sent you over, and also make sure to check out our sponsors for this week, SportsBroker. The link for that is in the description too. Laters.